Have you ever felt like you're living a life that doesn't truly belong to you? Like you're simply following a script, one that someone else wrote for you? And here's the most haunting part. Maybe you've been wearing a mask for so long, you forgot who you really are. Carl Jung once said, "Life truly begins only when you find yourself, your real, authentic self." But here's the problem, most people never do. Instead, they spend their lives stuck in an endless cycle of expectations, fears, and the need for approval. They chase things that seem important, yet none of it brings them closer to who they are inside. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, are you really living or just existing? From the moment we're born, society hands us a mask, what Jung called the persona. We're taught how to behave, what to believe, even what to desire. Parents, teachers, friends, everyone tells us who we should become. So we build an identity, bit by bit, just to belong. But in the process, our true nature gets buried. Ask yourself honestly, how much of your life is shaped by what you truly want? And how much is driven by what others expect of you? If you've ever felt like you're performing instead of living, it's because you are. And until you take off that mask, you will never feel fully alive. But the mask is only half the story. Deep within, there's another side, what Jung called the shadow. These are the hidden parts of you, the anger, the ambition, the fear, the pain, emotions you were told to suppress, desires you've learned to ignore. Yet here's what most people don't know: your shadow is not your enemy. In fact, it's the very key to discovering who you are. Maybe you hide your anger because you were taught to always be nice. Maybe you suppress your ambition because someone made you feel guilty for wanting more. Or maybe you ignore your fear because admitting weakness feels unbearable. But here's the truth, these rejected parts of you aren't flaws. They are essential pieces of your true self waiting to be welcomed back. The more you suppress them, the more they control you. So, how do you break free? How do you face the shadow without fear and finally become whole? As we discovered earlier, your shadow doesn't just hide in some distant, dark corner. It shows up every day, often when you least expect it. It reveals itself in your self-doubt, in the way you procrastinate, in the anxiety that creeps in for no clear reason. These are signs, echoes of the parts of you you've yet to face. So, how do you face your shadow? You start by watching yourself. Whenever something triggers a strong reaction, jealousy, anger, insecurity, pause and ask, why do I feel this way? What part of me am I still afraid to acknowledge? Don't run from those feelings. Sit with them, accept them, listen. Because those unwanted emotions often carry the greatest truths. And when you finally embrace your shadow, something incredible begins to unfold. You stop fearing yourself. You stop hiding. And for the first time, you begin living as your true self. Carl Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming whole. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about peeling away every conditioned layer, breaking out of the false self, and returning to who you were always meant to be. But this path isn't easy. It takes raw, honest self-reflection. It means breaking old patterns, releasing relationships that no longer serve your growth, and facing parts of you that you've tried to ignore. Yet, it is the only path to true fulfillment, because when you live as your real self, everything changes, your relationships deepen, your goals sharpen. Life no longer feels like a constant battle, it starts to feel like your own. So, the question is, are you ready to find yourself? Are you ready to take off the mask, face your shadow, and step into your real identity? Because that's when life truly begins. But let's be honest, most people will never take that journey. They'll stay trapped in lives that feel hollow. They'll repeat the same patterns. They'll live to meet others' expectations, never knowing what it means to truly live. Why? Because finding yourself means letting go of a false identity you've spent years constructing. Maybe you've built a life that looks perfect from the outside, but inside you feel disconnected. Maybe you've surrounded yourself with people who only like the safe version of you, the one who never disrupts the norm. Here's the harsh truth: if you don't find yourself, life will feel like a cage. You'll always feel restless, like something's missing, but you won't be able to explain why. That's because deep down, you know you were made for more. You can keep running, but the discomfort, it won't disappear, because your real self is always calling you home. But here's the good news. The moment you begin living as your true self, you start attracting everything that was meant for you all along. The right opportunities, the right people, the right path. We talked about how life starts to change when you begin living as your true self. When you stop pretending, life stops pushing back. You no longer have to force situations that were never meant for you. You stop trying to fit where you don't belong. Instead of chasing, you start aligning, and then things begin to fall into place, often in ways you could never have imagined. This is exactly what Carl Jung meant when he said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." So now the choice is yours. Will you continue living a life that was handed to you, or will you break free and create the life you were always meant to live? The real you is waiting. The only question is, are you ready to meet them? Finding yourself isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. It's about peeling away the labels, letting go of the expectations, and shedding the false identities you've clung to for so long. But this journey takes something powerful: courage. The courage to face the parts of yourself you've ignored. The courage to admit that maybe the life you're living isn't the life you truly want. And most of all, the courage to let go of the need for validation. Let go of the fear of being different. Let go of the belief that you have to fit into a mold that was never made for you. Because when you do, something extraordinary happens. You begin to make choices that actually fulfill you. You stop seeking approval from people who never truly saw you. And for the first time, you begin to live a life that feels real. A life where you wake up excited, not just getting through the day. This is what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole, integrating every part of yourself, even the ones you used to reject. It's not about perfection, it's about authenticity. So I ask you now, are you ready to stop running from yourself? To step into the life that's been waiting for you all along? The truth is, most people never truly find themselves, not because they don't want to, but because they're afraid of what they might discover. Because once you become self-aware, you can no longer hide behind excuses. You can no longer blame others for your unhappiness. You must take full responsibility. Carl Jung believed that to truly find yourself, you must confront your shadow, the hidden parts of your personality you deny, suppress, or ignore. The parts that hold your fears, insecurities, and unresolved traumas. The parts that society told you were unacceptable. The emotions you were taught to suppress. The desires you were shamed for having. But here's the hard truth: until you finally, as we said before, if you never confront your shadow, your path to self-discovery will remain incomplete. And because of that, you will always feel lost. You'll chase goals that never truly satisfy you. You'll follow paths that were never meant for you. And you'll keep wondering, why does nothing ever feel enough? The truth is, most people spend their entire lives running from themselves. They bury themselves in work, scroll endlessly through social media, jump from one relationship to another, binge on entertainment, anything to avoid the terrifying quiet of being alone with their own thoughts. Because in that silence, there's a fear the truth might be revealed. And that truth is, they don't know who they are. So, what can you do? How do you begin the journey of finding yourself without getting crushed by the weight of everything you've been avoiding? It starts with something simple but powerful: radical honesty. Stop pretending to be someone you're not. Stop living a life that doesn't match your values, and begin asking yourself, why do I believe the things I believe? Why do I feel unfulfilled? Why do I keep ignoring my own intuition? Because once you start asking, you start seeing. And once you've seen the truth, you can never unsee it. There's no turning back. But here's the real question: are you ready to face the truth? Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like a stranger was staring back at you? Like you've been following someone else's script, living someone else's life? I know that feeling. I've lived that life. I followed all the rules. I made the right choices. I built a life that looked good on the outside, one that aligned with society's standards, family expectations, and what others thought I should be doing. From the outside, everything seemed fine. But deep down, I felt disconnected, like I was living someone else's life. Then one day, it hit me. I didn't know who I was. The person I had become wasn't really me. It was a patchwork, a collage made of other people's opinions, fears, and dreams. I had spent so much time trying to become who others wanted that I forgot to ask myself, what do I want? Maybe you've felt that too. Maybe you're chasing a career you don't love, staying in a relationship that drains you, or pretending to be someone you're not just to fit in. But deep inside, there's a voice whispering, this isn't it. That voice, that's you, the real you, the one buried beneath layers of fear, shame, and conditioning. And the truth is, life doesn't really begin until you find yourself. But that journey, it's not easy. Because to truly find yourself, you have to be willing to let go of everything that isn't you. You have to let go of the version of yourself that was built to please others. You have to face the discomfort of not having all the answers. You have to be willing to walk alone for a while, not knowing exactly where you're headed. When you finally let go of everything that isn't really you, you arrive at the most powerful moment of all. You meet the person you were always meant to be. And that is when the real adventure begins. I once knew a young man who grew up in a very strict household in his family. Success was measured by academic excellence and having a respectable, stable career. His parents had one clear dream for him, to become a doctor. So, he followed their wishes even though deep down, he always had a passion for art. He went through years of medical school, earned high honors, landed a high-paying job. From the outside, his life looked perfect, but inside, he felt completely empty. One day, he broke down. He realized he had spent years living someone else's dream while burying his own identity. After some deep reflection, he picked up a paintbrush again just for fun. But the more he painted, the more alive he felt. Eventually, he made a bold decision. He quit his job and became a full-time artist. His parents were disappointed, but for the first time, he was truly happy. There's another story, a woman I once spoke with. She was always surrounded by people, parties, events, social circles. She was never alone. And yet, she never felt truly connected. She constantly adapted her personality to fit in, afraid that if anyone saw the real her, they wouldn't like what they saw. One night, scrolling through social media alone, she was suddenly hit with a deep sense of isolation. It struck her. She had no idea who she really was outside of other people's expectations. So she did something terrifying. She pulled away from social media. She stopped trying to please everyone. Instead, she took time to explore what she actually liked: books, music, philosophy. She began journaling, reflecting, and slowly she started becoming comfortable in her own skin. She lost a few friends in the process, but the ones who stayed, they truly saw her, and for the first time in her life, she felt deeply understood. These stories are real. They happen every day. And the common thread? Self-discovery begins the moment you stop lying to yourself. So I ask you again, are you willing to face the discomfort that comes with discovering who you really are? Finding yourself isn't about one big moment of clarity. It's a series of small, uncomfortable decisions, each one helping you break away from everything that isn't real. But here's the truth. Most people never even take that first step. They wait. They hesitate. They cling to the familiar because stepping into the unknown feels terrifying. And I get it. Maybe you're scared of what you'll uncover. Maybe you've spent so long being who others wanted that now you don't even know where to begin. But let me tell you something powerful. Not knowing is okay. We said that not knowing where to start is okay, because from that uncertainty comes the question that changes everything. Who am I? And that's exactly where the real journey begins. Think about it. The most powerful journeys in life don't begin with certainty. They begin with a question. Who am I? What do I really want? Here's the hard truth. You won't find yourself by staying in the same place, doing the same things, surrounded by the same people who only reflect back to you the version of yourself you're trying to outgrow. You discover who you are through discomfort, through solitude, through those painfully honest moments where you stop pretending and finally admit to yourself what you truly want. Maybe that means walking away from a job that drains your soul. Maybe it means creating distance from people who don't really see you. Or maybe it's just giving yourself permission to try something new without the fear of failure. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Now think about that dot. If you don't take control of your path, if you don't look deep within and uncover what's hidden inside, then life will keep steering you toward destinations that were never meant for you. And one day, you'll wake up and realize you've been living a life that was never truly yours. But the good news? You still have a choice right now. So I'll ask again, are you ready to begin? Because self-discovery often begins with pain, especially the pain of realizing that someone you cared deeply about never really valued you. That moment, as heartbreaking as it feels, holds incredible power. It pushes you inward. It forces you to ask, who am I really when I'm not being validated by others? When someone secretly harbors resentment toward you, it's easy to spiral into self-doubt. But real self-discovery comes when you realize their opinion is not your reality. Their hidden negativity doesn't reflect your worth. It's a mirror of their own struggles, insecurities, and emotional limits. This kind of betrayal, though painful, becomes a turning point. It tears down illusions. It demands that you trust yourself more than you trust the approval of others. It teaches you to follow your instincts, to see clearly who genuinely supports you, and to walk away from the people and patterns that quietly drain your energy. Jung believed that individuation, becoming your whole, true self, requires deep inner work. And that inner work often begins in moments like these. Because when someone else's mask finally falls, you're left with the most important question. Now that you've seen the truth, who will you choose to become? Sometimes, certain experiences feel like they're breaking you, but in reality, they're breaking you open. Painful as they are, they strip away what isn't real and bring you face to face with the person you were always meant to be. And one of the most powerful of those experiences is, we touched on the truth, that sometimes it takes everything falling apart for us to truly find ourselves. And now, let's look at what that actually looks like. The moments that shake you and shape you. 1. Hitting rock bottom, whether it's losing your job, going through a breakup, or facing financial hardship. You're left with no choice but to face yourself. Rock bottom removes all distractions. There's no more pretending, no more hiding. Just you and the truth. It hurts, but it's also an opportunity, a rare chance to rebuild from the ground up, this time with choices that actually align with who you really are, not who you were told to be. 2. Feeling lost in life, you wake up one day and realize you're living on autopilot, doing things because you should, not because you want to. Maybe you've achieved success, but deep down you feel empty. This realization is uncomfortable, yes, but it's also a gift. It forces you to question everything, and from there, you can begin making choices that lead to real fulfillment, not just ticking off society's checklist. 3. Breaking free from toxic relationships. Sometimes you don't realize how much someone is holding you back until you finally let them go. Toxic relationships, whether romantic, friendly, or even familial, can distort your sense of identity. But when you walk away, you gain clarity. You see who you are without their influence. And for the first time in a long time, you can breathe. Self-discovery often begins the moment you remove the people who made you doubt yourself. 4. Facing a major life change. Life has a way of forcing change, ready or not. Moving to a new city, switching careers, dealing with loss. These moments shake up your entire sense of normal. At first, they feel terrifying, but they're also an invitation to reinvent yourself without old labels and comfort zones. You begin to define yourself based on who you really are, not who you were expected to be. 5. Being forced into solitude when you're alone, whether by choice or circumstance. There are no distractions, no one to impress, no one to validate you. This is where true self-awareness begins. You start understanding your thoughts, your desires, your fears. Some fear solitude. But in truth, it's one of the most powerful tools for discovering who you are. The more comfortable you become with yourself, the less you rely on others to define you. 6. Failing at something you thought defined you. Maybe you poured years into a business, a career, a dream, and it didn't work out. That failure feels like a loss of identity, but really, it's a test. It forces you to ask, was that ever really me? We often attach our identity to what we do, but when those things vanish, we're left with the real question, who am I beyond my achievements? That's where the real journey begins. 7. Finally standing up for yourself. Maybe for years, you played it safe. You said yes when your heart was screaming no. You followed the rules but forgot your own truth. And then one day, something shifts. You pause, take a deep breath, and for the first time, you speak up for yourself. In the previous section, you finally stood up for yourself, and in that moment, you didn't just say no to others, you finally said yes to you. Maybe for years, you avoided conflict, you shrank yourself down to keep others comfortable. But the moment you set a boundary, you realized something profound. You'd been suppressing yourself for far too long. Standing up for yourself isn't just about refusal. It's about choosing yourself, perhaps for the first time in a very long time. And in doing so, you begin to reconnect with the version of yourself you've been neglecting. 8. Realizing time is passing quickly. Then, one day, it hits you. Time is slipping away. You see friends aging, opportunities fading, dreams still sitting on the shelf. This moment can terrify you or wake you up. It urges you to ask, am I living the life I truly want? If the answer is no, consider this your wake-up call, your signal to make a change before it's too late. So what steps can you take to discover the best version of yourself? 1. Self-reflection. Take an honest look at your life, your habits, relationships, mindset. Examine them all. Ask, am I genuinely happy? What's holding me back? Journal your thoughts. Notice patterns in your emotions and choices. 2. Identify your core values, what truly matters to you. Freedom, growth, creativity, integrity. Once you define your values, let them guide your decisions. Let them shape your days. 3. Break free from limiting beliefs. Challenge the inner critic that says, I'm not good enough. Replace it with, I am capable. I can choose a new path. 4. Get uncomfortable and take risks. Growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. Try new things. Meet new people. Say yes to the unknown. And if you fail, that's not a setback. That's a lesson. 5. Set clear goals and take daily action. Define where you want to be in 1, 5, and 10 years. Break it down into small, manageable steps. And most importantly, start now. 6. Cut out negative influences. Let go of toxic relationships. Choose to be around people who lift you, inspire you, challenge you. 7. Embrace solitude and self-awareness. Spend time alone, not to isolate, but to connect, meditate, journal, travel solo. Listen deeply to what's within. 8. Build discipline and healthy habits. Create routines that support your goals. Exercise, read, wake up early. Discipline doesn't restrict you, it frees you from the habits holding you back. 9. Learn and adapt constantly. Keep growing. Read books, find mentors, stay curious, because your best self is not a final destination, it's an ongoing evolution. 10. Trust the process and be patient. Transformation takes time. Some days will feel slow, but every small action adds up. And one day, you'll look in the mirror and finally see the person you were meant to be. The best version of you is already within. You don't have to become someone new, you just have to uncover what's always been there. Break free from fear, from toxic influences, from beliefs that no longer serve you. Start with small, Intentional choices that align with your values and dreams. You won't have all the answers right away, and that's okay. Growth is messy, uncertain, sometimes uncomfortable. But the more you live in your truth, the more life will rise up to meet you. So take the step. Be intentional. Your best self is waiting.